Hola, mi nombre es José Domingo Castolo Aguilar, tengo 28 años, vivo en Mario Fabio Altamirano, Veracruz, antes Purga, México. Fue un honor haber servido al señor Michael Christopher como chofer, ya que fue una emoción bastante grande. Al principio fue un recorrido hasta no llegar a Yanga, un recorrido, pues, ¿por qué no decirlo común, verdad? O sea que se fueron visitando diferentes puntos pues, bonitos, ¿verdad? Pero la emoción más grande fue al llegar a Yanga, ya que ellos demostraron pues esa alegría, ¿no? O sea que ya estaban cumpliendo su misión, que era buscar gente de su raza, ¿por qué no decirlo así, verdad? O sea, querían encontrar gente de la cual había salido hace años, desde África, tengo entendido algo así porque no entiendo muy bien el inglés. Pero lo más emocionante fue cuando llegamos a Mata Clara, ya que al ver a gente de sus raíces, hasta lágrimas se les escurrieron, las besaron, platicaron mucho con ella, las entrevistaron, vieron fotografías. Pues podría yo contarles muchísimas cosas, pero fue bastante conmovedor al ver que ya habían concluido su misión, por qué no decirlo una parte, ¿verdad? Porque falta muchísimo. Pero pues es todo lo que les puedo decir y que estén muy bien. Bye. Muchas gracias.
I'm on my way. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Oh Lord, to freedom land. I'm on my way. I'm on my way to freedom land. To freedom land. I'm on my way. I'm on my way to freedom land. To freedom land. I'm on my way. I'm on my way to freedom land. To freedom land. I'm on my way. Oh Lord, freedom land. If you don't go.
My name is Dallas Lambert. I'm here in Mata Clara, Mexico. We're here in the village of Mata Clara, and we will be visiting with a family, the Sid family.
Mi nombre es Roberta Virgen Cis. El nombre de mi abuelo era Teodoro Virgen. Y pues no sé cómo decir si vino o lo trajeron. Más claro, lo trajeron de la Martinica a trabajar acá, a carrear caña, trabajos pesados.
Okay. What she's saying is that she did introduce herself. She said that her grandfather was brought here as a slave to work the sugarcane fields. He was a big guy. So, you know,
Clemente Cid, Sofía Cid, Francisca Cid.
Pues sí, pues nos gustaría haber sabido algo de la historia de nuestros antepasados, pero nada supimos. Sí, porque ya mi papá pues ya se crió prácticamente sin papá, porque ellos faltaron. Y no, a lo mejor él sí haya sabido algo, pero no nos pasó el reporte.
People that came on that were captured and enslaved and brought here to Mexico, to the Atlantic side of Mexico, the east coast of Mexico, and from Gabon and West Africa.
De que usted esté aquí en nuestra casa, ya que sabemos que gracias al señor Michael Christopher, sabemos que nuestras raíces van a seguir creciendo, porque han venido muchas personas que simplemente nos han venido a tomar fotos, a entrevistar y no hemos tenido ninguna respuesta. Pero sabemos que usted, señor Michael Christopher, sí nos va a hacer extensivas, pues todas estas historias, más que nada de nuestra raíz. Y sabemos que nos va a ayudar porque es una persona.
And after visiting the school, we were so amazed to learn that the civil rights movement is being taught here in Costa Chica. And to see the kids, they were so welcoming, had open arms, and they were just so excited to receive books, papers, and school supplies. It was such a wonderful experience being here. The educational experience was invaluable to the group study. Upon leaving the village of Monte Clara, Yanga, the Martin Luther King School, and the diaspora of Costa Chica, the realization of the importance of the natives' history, their roots, culture, and their heritage was a phenomenon.
As Gaza is to Egypt, the pyramids of the sun and the moon is to southern Mexico. The Monte Albán and the Mitla ruins were essential creations of the ancient Olmec civilization, whose origin dates back to 4000 BC.
We just crossed the Sierra Madre Mountains, which was very much an adventure for about 10 hours, and now we're at a place called Monte Albán.
Okay, my name is Dr. Tony Mokaya J. Humber. I am Professor Emeritus in the Ethnic and Women's Studies Department at California State Polytechnic University in Pomona. This is my second visit to Monte Albán. I first came here in 2003 when I was on sabbatical, and I was tracing the trail of Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. And when I was here before, I didn't have anyone to really give me the full understanding of the significance of the Olmecs and their relationship to Monte Albán and Mitla and this part of Mexico. And I got a better understanding today. And what we see is a continuity of the African cultural system that is coming from the Olmecas, that's passed along to the Mayas, the Zapotecs, the Mixtecs, and all of the pyramid complexes. We see a similarity in terms of temples and ball courts. And today we learned of sacred passages by the priests, the sacerdote, the most sacred of the people, going through ceremony, going through the underworld, coming up and emerging into this present life. All of these are common elements, and we certainly can trace them and parallel them to what we find in Egypt. So this is a phenomenal site here in the Sierra Madre Mountains. I'm glad to have this opportunity to visit it again, and every aspect of it according to its orientation to the sun, its orientation to the stars, the observatory, watching the rising of the sun and all the faces that it points to in terms of the heavens. We see that connection. What is above is duplicated and what is below and even under us. And Monte Albán is an incredible reflection of that, as well as a very, very important site. You know, we see people walking around and they're just climbing pyramids, and we can't imagine what 300, 400, 500 BC when this was built, how people could have climbed up those mountains and carried those rocks. What we have to understand in the building of this complex, as any of the temples in Egypt, it took a vast workforce. It took incredible knowledge. You had to have your architects, you had to have your engineers, your structural engineers, you had to have your artisans, and you had to have your laborers. And you had to have a division of labor that was quite incredible. So we can't imagine the thousands and thousands of people who built this. This just wasn't something that was haphazardly placed together. Every stone was placed for a reason. In ancient Egypt, they say, I stand amazed in the presence of God. And we certainly stand here on a Sunday amazed in the presence of the forces that drove these people to create this wonder in tribute to the heavens, in tribute to the beliefs they had, and as another example of an African continuity. So I'll say Ashe for right now. Thank you.
When they were found, the areas that they were found, were they built there, and were these, because these areas were used like for worshiping or
living?
No, I mean this Olmecs was there. So what did they do around it? Was it a place where you met, a place where you worshipped? What were they there for?
It was a
What
society.
purpose did they serve?
It was a society
and the places where they have like a ceremonial center.
Ceremonial. Okay.
And
So
the
you
ruling
would know
class
that we
was
have one here.
always was the priests, more or less like shamans. They were well organized, the Olmecs, you know, and they wanted to leave evidence. They knew on the video you saw that they could do maybe writings, an invention in bar, like codice. But they knew that they were not going to last. So for that reason, they said, we're going to remain for time and space, which is all that, you know.
So were these just there, or did you find that there was a shrine around it, or?
Nice. All the elements of the stone basal were done from there. Sintepec is an extinct volcano where they obtained the material to make all the pieces like the big heads, like for instance this one, which was found in San Lorenzo, in Tres Zapotes. 3 places archaeological: San Lorenzo, Tuxtla, Tres Zapotes, and the most as a pre-urbanistic city, La Venta. By the Aztecs, but most by the Mayas. But it started calendar systems with the Olmecs, which is considered the mother culture. The mother culture is the Olmecs, which is has different features. The Olmecs have features Asians and African.
The thing that is interesting is that when you go to Mexico and those places, you see people from everywhere. You're young and old, but you hardly ever see any black people, especially black Americans, mainly because they go to all the prescribed places like Hawaii and other places when they need to go to some places more closely related to themselves, which would be in Mexico, in Latin America, and in the Caribbean.
The beginners of Olmecs is there in 1600. Y hay una época ya desaparecen.
Bueno, de hecho, de 1600 al 300 y entran los teotihuacanos a esta área.
Now, later after, you remember the pyramids we went in Mexico City? There was the influence from Central Mexico, Teotihuacans. But it seems to be that from 16 before Christ, they began to expand through the north, to the west, to the south. And the end of the Olmec civilization ended up more or less about 200, 300 before Christ.
En la exposición que tenemos aquí en el museo, abarcamos el área que se llama Mesoamérica. Este es el área cultural.
We've been talking about Mesoamerica, the west, Central Mexico, the oldest areas, the Gold, Olmec, Tutunacú, and Huastec.
Así es. Y también tenemos piezas que representan el área de Aridamérica.
And they all have also pieces from Aridamérica, which is part of North Mexico, United States.
¿Y por qué al Olmec?
El Olmec representa la casa.
The Olmec represents the house, the head.
La cabeza es el mundo olmeca, los ojos el mundo zapoteca, la nariz el mundo maya, la boca el mundo náhuatl, y los oídos el mundo totonaca.
Okay, so what he's saying is the different parts, like the eyes represent and different indigenous. Then okay, la cabeza y después los ojos. Okay, the head are the.
El mundo olmeca, la cabeza el mundo olmeca.
The Mecan world. Y los ojos.
El mundo zapoteca.
The Zapoteca world, the world of Zapotecas.
El mundo maya.
Mayan.
La boca el mundo náhuatl.
Náhuatl. The mouth
y el oído el mundo totonaca.
And the ears is the totonaca. So una mezcla de indígenas.
Seven civilizations.
Oh, look, the seven civilizations. Y Olmecan, and why would they have been saying, let's preserve this, let's preserve them themselves? I mean, you don't find us preserving much. Right. Saying like, let's say, for example, the Statue of Liberty, we may not be here, so let's cover it up so that later on, whoever comes after us can discover it.
Whoever built these heads knew that they was building it to last forever. It wasn't. They were building
and that's how the ancients built things. They built for the test of time.
It was never going to be there ever again.
And they knew that they will not be here and that we will have lost our way by the time that came to pass. And it came to pass at the time that we needed it, when we were coming into ourselves to recognize it. Can you imagine the statue of Ramesses?
Huge.
Huge.
I mean, you see the tone, the
So
toenail.
that's how this would have had to be.
The toenail, I mean, all the little
intricate stuff, right?
Head to foot, yeah. That's true.
That one they had laying down, if I remember.
Huge humans.
Well, they were seen as gods.
Yeah.
And when the people looked upon them, they felt like awe-stricken because nothing could be this big but God's. It ignores the helmet, doesn't it?
Yeah, right. You can see the eye. It's very much like Olmec. That's Olmec.
Is that the nose right
Yeah,
here?
right.
And this is probably part of the lip.
The lip. It's like earrings.
Yeah, the ear right here.
Yeah, and his arm right here.
But
maybe they use like a little cape. Like a little cape, you know. That's supposed to be something on the other side, you know. This is more preserved. His hands.
But you know something I'm looking at on top of this helmet?
Yeah.
And that helmet.
It goes like this and it goes like this.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
That is a symbol. A headdress like that is a symbol of a high ruler.
Okay.
High ruler.
Okay,
but
it's
still very Olmec. This one is still very Olmec. The nose, the lips, you know.
And also that hair. This is something hanging from his helmet right here.
And it's like a earring.
No, this thing here like a.
That was used. It was part of the helmet.
Yeah, it's sort of like a ribbon or something.
Like the Arabs use.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what that was.
When you have these kinds of experiences, this is not like going to Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, Acapulco, and hanging out at the beach. Those who come on this kind of journey, this is a rigorous trip. This is not for the faint of heart. This is not for someone who wants to spend 3 days out on the sun getting a suntan. I like that too. But this is for those who have the questions of life. And what we find here in Mexico, the information we're finding will totally defy and turn around anything we have been told about African people. Because we were told they did not leave the continent. We were told they didn't have the technology to make it this far. And yet we see their faces, we see their structures in the monument, and time after time after time do we see this cultural continuity evident in stone. So I really would like for all of us, all of us are experts now. We're gaining in knowledge, and all of us can bring groups here at whatever level to make sure that young people see this. And also, this is really important for the relationship between black and browns. In Los Angeles, there seems to be a tension. And if Mexicans understood the Africanness of the Olmec, if African people from the United States see their images in those Olmecs, if they understand that the second president of Mexico, Mexico's first African indigenous president, Vicente Guerrero, was a brother, that the struggles that we have here parallel what we have in the United States, and that we go back long before Columbus to antiquity. This is what our people in the United States don't understand, and there is a friction. And there's a friction of people admitting to, this African heritage in the heritage of Mexico. Many people do not want to admit to it because African people have been so denigrated. How can you say a people who were part of this incredible complex, who built the pyramids in Egypt, who built great civilizations all over Africa, and then were reduced to being shadow and degraded for their look, said they were lazy? This is not the work of lazy people. And certainly we are the descendants here as well as across the Atlantic. So it's important that the black and brown conflicts that we have sometimes among high school students is out of pure ignorance, and our hands should be really reaching across to one another to understand our common bond, and together we need to rise together.